sunrise, sunset. Today is the best one yet. Crab pot, horsefly, not a cloud in the southern sky. Starry night, crescent moon, and palmetto tree. I'm so high, you see, on the low country, salt and sea hospitality. I'm so high on the low country.
So guys, welcome back. We're here Front Porch Forum, picking up where we left off. After that Coors Light, Jamie fell off the back of the porch.
Here we are.
Hey, luckily you had a sling,
Yes.
abduction pillow, all the good stuff.
Workers' comp, general liability,
Got it.
rates increase.
Yes, very much so. But hey, it was worth it.
It was worth
That
it.
was good beer.
Yes. So Jamie K, Elm Energy Group, William Cubbage, Energy One. Guys, we've insulated. We passed insulation inspection yesterday, and technically we could go ahead and sheetrock. There's really nothing stopping us from moving forward. However, we're going and taking some extra steps. Jamie, you're a big part of that extra step. And William, we've held off on a couple of things, including the air barrier package, which we usually do. If you want to walk us through where we are
Sure.
and what we have.
Right now we're in the process of doing a whole insulation package on the house. We've done an open cell application in the exterior walls and the roof deck. We have the crawl space that is yet to be insulated and or sealed. The connections between the crawl space, your rim band, your sill plate, all that still stays open. So this is when Jamie K and a third-party energy testing group will come in and negatively pressurize the house. This allows us as a spray foam contractor to find the areas that we physically can't see, and allows us to add foam and touch up in areas that after we've spray foamed the home can continue to improve the envelope of the house.
Yeah.
So, I'll also add that, again, we've done things here to try to basically make it better for television. So Energy One, we stopped you guys short of 100% completion, but still, I think we've gone basically above and beyond what would typically be done as standard. We did decide to go with open cell in the ceiling, for my peace of mind, knowing that if there is ever a leak there, it's going to be able to transition and drip down onto the ceiling. The crawl space, as you mentioned, we're going to wrap that up here shortly. That's more of an exterior trim detail. And we're looking maybe less for data and more so for opportunities to ensure a fully encapsulated house right now.
Yeah, both. The energy code right now tells us we have two options. We can look at it and tell whether it's sealed,
Sure.
or we can measure it and see how tight it is based on the size of it, the volume of it. And
The number of air transfers, right?
that's right. And so,
Explain that to us, Jamie.
So, an air transfer is an air exchange between the inside and the outside of the home. So, how many times per hour
Right.
does the heated and cooled air transfer with the outside? And since we can't do that under natural power, we use a blower door, which pressurizes it to basically a 20-mile-an-hour wind is what we simulate to measure how many times the air is exchanging in the house.
So we've got 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing out of this house.
On all sides of this house at one time. All of it's coming in, and it's going to go through this fan, and we're able to measure that. And we measured it as 50 pascals of pressure. And that's what the code talks about, ACH 50. How many air changes at 50 pascals is this house? Per hour.
Right.
Code is 7.
Right.
A decently sealed house today is 4 or so. You start getting tight homes in the 1 ACH 50 range and tighter if you wanted.
Got
So that's kind of where we are. And this tool, as I turn this on, it gets a little noisy, but we'll show how the pressure that's being created. And what you can see is that the second I turn this fan on, the pressure is being exerted on all sides of the house. And that's how we're able to see using thermal imaging or smoke or your hand. You can feel this air, see this air, and go around and do this last final step that's pretty important to get a sealed envelope.
So you got a couple of areas that we're going to take a look at. We're not trying to poke fun at William. This is an educational experience.
It's an important thing, you know. Nobody, it's infallible. So I mean, your plumbers are great.
Yeah.
If you didn't have to fill these pipes with water, would you just put sheetrock up? No. You know, things happen.
Right.
You know, and so you fill it with water and you see the water come out, and you get
Test.
that ahead of time.
Test.
There's no difference here.
Sure.
You can't see air, so this is the tools that you have to use to do it.
And I think a lot of people think that just because you use spray foam that you've magically created, say, you know, just a Yeti cooler environment. That's not necessarily the case.
That's true, and you know, and if you're paying for a Yeti cooler, you should kind of get a Yeti cooler.
Right.
You shouldn't get an Igloo
Exactly.
for the Yeti price.
Although
So
Igloo is a good cooler.
Igloo, I know, you know, I'm actually being paid by Coleman, but
Gotta have
that's
a
a
full
whole
arsenal.
different thing. You know, I'll go with you. But you know, yeah. So it's getting it sealed, because simply going to a Yeti cooler and making little slices in the rubber gasket
Sure.
would drastically change how quickly that ice melts in there because of transfer.
Do you want to talk to us at all about the data that's showing there now and how to read that? I look at that and honestly, I call you. I
Yeah,
have no idea
gobbledygook.
what we've got going on here.
So on the left-hand side, what you're seeing here is the pressure difference that we're creating. We're creating an up to 50 pascals of pressure, and that's what simulates that 20 mile an hour wind. And this is, we've already done a little tiny stuff here, but you're gonna see a kind of a pre-number when it gets up to 50. You can see how sensitive it is. And so it's pretty close to a 50 here. And that shows us we have 1,815 CFM at 50 pascals. And what we do is we take this gobbledygook here and we translate it into the volume and come up with that air changes per hour equation.
So what about areas such as our chimney that we have a flue? You make accommodations for that, or you work to seal that temporarily?
Well, so with the flue itself, with the chimney damper, we've left it as is because that's how your house is going to be.
Naturally.
You know, we will find areas just like we're doing in other parts of the house that can help improve the weak points in that envelope.
Sure. So let's take a look at what we found.
All right.
As our first stop here is in front of the fireplace. Now, this is an isotherm fireplace. We've got our necessary or required air gap or fire break between combustible materials and this fireplace unit. Now, this is a direct access to a chase that leads to our chimney flue that runs all the way up, you know, to the roof line.
With your thermal barrier here.
Right.
So
And
nothing
we
bad
had
there.
And we have taken some precautions. We went ahead and we put our vapor barrier on the back side of the flue before we ran our brick up, and we made sure that everything was taped and sealed. And that's about, from the outside standpoint, that's the best we can do. But here, Jamie, tell us a little bit about, you know, what we've done here as a standard practice and why this isn't necessarily good enough.
Sure. Well, you know, this is going to be a big thermal mass, and you can't really insulate this.
Right.
But you have taken a step to add some insulation here in that combustible clearance
Which
area.
is rock wool,
Rock wool.
combustible material.
Right, can be put up against it. But rock wool, like cellulose or fiberglass, is air permeable. So air is still able to come through it.
Right.
When it's air permeable, vapor, moisture comes quicker instead of having to diffuse through a product,
Right.
wood or what have you. And so all the small gaps where it's been plugged in, maybe a different approach that you can take, another step up from this, is to use a fire-approved caulking
Sure.
that could add this air seal, because I've kind of put this piece of plastic right here to kind of show that a small little gap
Yeah.
is going to allow for, even though you have taken the steps to seal it from the outside.
Technically insulated per se, but not provide a vapor barrier.
That's right, and an air seal.
Sure.
You know, so, and this wouldn't be something they would be able to take a caulking and put to because of the gap so big.
Yes.
Can't really take foam to it because of its combustible characteristics. And so you have to use this kind of two-step approach. And above and beyond, this is very standard. This is what we see most people do. The next step up would be taking that and saying, hey, I got my thermal barrier now. Let me make sure it's airtight.
So we've done this for demonstration purposes, and William, you're going to come back and you're going to take it the next step.
Yeah, I'll be a part of the next air seal package with some of the other details that we looked at. But we can create an air seal at that area where we put the rock wool to achieve an R value, to achieve that separation. But now we can get an air seal to go the next step.
Yeah.
Ideally, I mean, we're trying to build houses that if you take them, turn them upside down, drop them in the water, they float.
They float. But when they don't float,
Yeah.
and you come in here with some beautiful wood that is up against here, this area is going to accept moisture at a different rate. And so even though you might not be more energy efficient or more comfortable, when things start to move, that's just not the, you want to protect your craftsmanship.
So this room right here, we're going to run drywall around for the majority of our wall space. And then we're going to stop here. We're going to have a brick fireplace around, a wood mantle, and then we're going to have a wooden horizontal shiplap detail that our TV is going to mount on. So if we didn't do anything further, as well as we've basically insulated and secured this home, this will be one of the easiest paths for that moisture.
That's it.
So 3 months into the client moving in, all of a sudden we start seeing those boards move, pucker up, and at that point, remediating this is a big deal.
Getting it right the first time ahead of time is
Absolutely.
trumps everything else, for sure.
All right, you got a couple other areas we can look at?
Yeah, definitely. Keep on.
Okay. All right, so we got this area right here, outside shed dormer. And Jamie, you found a couple of issues with our ceiling joists as well as where our sister rafter tails are located.
Right. Every single dissimilar material, every joint, every seam becomes an opportunity for air to flow through. That's not a place that we would worry about water because it's not going to it's not going to come in that way.
Coverage.
But air, we have to worry 360 degrees due to the pressure differences, temperature differences, wind, and what have you. So with this fan, with the blower door, we're creating this wind. And what you're seeing is up here in these corners and in all these seams, you're able to see this difference on the thermal imager. So again, come back when you have the pressure on. Sealing this up, we'll be able to verify that makes it tighter. And as a whole, those little seams add up to a big hole overall.
And we're also shooting this prior to Energy One performing their air sealing package.
Correct.
Which is another step that we take where we'll come through and we'll caulk all of our outside corners, in between studs, in between top plates. A lot of these meeting points that seal to plywood that are issues now, and we're doing this to be able to show the reasoning and the benefit behind that. One thing I'll point out too is, we're always learning. I'm always learning, and just as my guys are here framing, there's things that I always need to take into consideration.
Right.
Framer is seldom going to think about, okay, I need to make sure that they can get to this to be able to access for insulation. This 2x8 right here that serves as our ceiling joist, when the guys are putting the ceiling up, they run a board there and they run a board on the opposite side of the shed dormer. It's great, it's easy to fasten, but it also creates a cavity with an obstruction for us to be able to access with a foam gun.
That's right. They don't realize how important they are in the process of building the cooler.
Yeah. There's a lot of different framing techniques, from outside corners to headers, providing closed cell foam board inside of headers or on the outside wall. That if it's not done during framing, there's no way to access it.
Right, and there's really no value at that point either.
Sure. All right.
Yep. So we'll see this when we're done.
Cool.
So up here doing this testing as we're putting this house under pressure, while we're doing this is for the quality assurance.
Looking for the problems. Looking for the the misses.
The holes, right? We look at foam and it's such a big blank canvas that or even canvas looks great, but a Ziploc bag, sometimes you got to go back and forth a couple of times before you hear that last click.
Sure.
And that's really what this is about, is to making sure that if you're going for a tightly sealed product, that you check it. You'll be able to turn that Ziploc bag upside down over your head with confidence.
Yeah.
And so what we're showing on the thermal image is how we're using this is showing these corners, and you see kind of in here where all this framing happens, where we can feel all that air coming in.
Yeah, you can stick your hand in here. And what we did is this was basically attic space. And we came in and we've opened this area up so it will be bookcases, just making use of attic space. But in doing so, our framer used a 2x6 piece of drop for blocking, and really limited the access to this outside corner. So I can reach my hand back there. I can feel our threaded rod all the way to plywood. And looking at it, we can certainly hope to catch that, but the thermal imaging camera just takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, it's unbiased. It's
Yep.
just looking for something different. And that's why in that image, as you look at it, you get to see these contrasting colors, which tells us more heat, less heat. Sometimes that means water, but in this case, it's showing us the air from that pressure test we're doing.
So your guys will come back in a small area like this, you'll be able to hit with a gun.
That's right. And so with the foam gun here, we'll do a little touch up. The use of the blower door as blower door guided air sealing is that when you put your hand over it and you feel the air,
Sure.
you fill it with foam, you put your hand over it, there's a huge level of confidence that you've got it. So then we'll also see that we did this test in at the beginning. We're going to do this test out when we're done.
Right.
And you'll see this difference in the blower door number, which is how much tighter it got from these last little bits, these last little clicks of that Ziploc bag.
And Jamie, you got one other area that you want to show us?
Yeah, show another area.
All right, cool. We're back here. After you come through, you did the initial thermal imaging, saw the areas that we needed to address, and pick us up where we are now.
So after we've gone through, we're going to do this final test out to see how much we improved at this point. Again, there's still some more to be done for Energy One to come back and do that final air sealing and caulking package. But what we've done here is we had this sistered framing where these rafters and ceiling joists came out. We talked about how important it is to get these framers involved, but we've come in and caulked these seams, kind of foamed these areas that previously were showing the air leakage.
Infiltration there, yeah.
And right now on the thermal image, we'll be able to see how it is curing, and then comparing a before and after, you're going to see a really kind of a blank canvas here.
Right.
And boring is good in thermal imaging.
Yeah, just walk through and everything looks the same.
That's right. Nothing's jumping out at you that says, hey, something's going on. Usually that's air infiltration occurring.
So again, just to kind of reiterate to those watching, Elm Energy Group not only provides the testing and the data necessary to be able to see how tight a house is, but while you're here and you have all these resources, you're going to go through several cans of this Hilti foam and go ahead and remediate some of these problems that we've got.
That's the best time to do it when the blower door is going. You can have that confirmation.
Right.
You know it's not a guessing game. Again, we've done thousands of these tests, and you just can't look at it and know if it's sealed. So yeah, that process is pretty invaluable.
And if there's something larger, it's going to show up in your report. You're going to give us the video, all the data, and we'll share that with Energy One, and we'll review it with them here. We'll break out the iPad, watch the video together, take care of it, call you back, let you know that we're done. If we need to shoot it again, we will. But otherwise, we'll feel confident that we've addressed what needed to be done and move into finishing stages, drywall, wood walls, and keep going.
Perfect.
All right.
So we're up here right now, and one of the other tools that we like to use besides thermal imaging is sometimes show homeowners, sometimes chase things on existing construction. We can use theatrical fog and help us define where the holes are, visually show it a little bit more impactfully.
Smoke machine.
Smoke machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And so what you're going to kind of see is the infiltration points that are here. And let's go ahead and fog it up a little bit.
And this is an area that we have attic space over top of a porch here.
And so as you can see,
There's a little bit of smoke.
all the fog that's coming in down here. Let's go ahead and hit it again, Miles. Pretty good.
And so this is me as a builder working to try to provide sheathing on the backside and basically take my best steps and practices, and you can see the shortcomings.
Yeah.
Flashlight.
Is that bad or good?
Neither.
Okay. So you can kind of see the extent of all this fog coming in. And really see the infiltration that's occurring. And these little areas here, again, it's just about, as we make these houses tighter, that's humidity.
Sure.
That's visual humidity coming in. That's allergens and dust and heat and things that we're trying to keep out of the cooler.
Absolutely.
So
And you can have the best intentions, but without this type of testing, it's very difficult to find these locations.
you can't fix what you can't see.
Exactly. So you'll provide us a report along with images, a full video. You actually go through with an insulation gun and mark the locations, reference the video. Your detailed reports are critical for me to be able to pass back to William. His crew comes in, takes care of anything that we can't fix with a foam gun today, and then we'll take another look, make sure everything's as it should be, and drywall.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's good.
All right, so welcome
Yeah.
to the attic. Guys, I think this is a good time to sign off. Front Porch
Yeah.
Forum, Jamie K, Elm Energy Group.
Thank you, sir.
No beverage for you today.
No.
All
Her
right.
last one hurt.
All right, have a good day, guys.
Sunset, sunrise, dunes whisper a lullaby, red drum, stray cat, lemon sun and a pine straw hat, secret spot in the shade of a canopy. I'm so high, you see, on the low country, salt and sea hospitality. I'm so high on the low country. I'm so high on the low country. I'm so high on